So like I was saying, with the Doppler, as long as you're okay with not knowing if you're going to be able to hear the heartbeat or not every day, is as long as you're okay with that, it's a good thing to have. And since I was having the bleeding and everything, it was just good for me, especially after 12 weeks when you can usually hear it every day, just to be able to hear the heartbeat every day. Because when you're bleeding when you shouldn't be, it's kind of scary, and to be able to hear the heartbeat is just really reassuring. But if I couldn't find it a day, I didn't really worry about it. It was just when I could hear it, it was just a very good thing to be able to hear. So in week 11, I took a gender prediction test. It's just a urine test in this little cup that they give you. It has some chemical in it, and it changes orange if you're going to have a girl, and blue, like a greenish brown color if you're going to have a boy. And mine almost instantly turned the darker green brown, which meant I was having a boy. That's still really early for an ultrasound to tell you if you're having a girl or a boy. But this did tell me then. It's about 90% accurate, so it's kind of one of those things. Do it if you want, but don't paint the nursery yet. I guess so. And that week 11 is when they labeled me as high risk pregnancy because of all of my previous health problems. I started showing in week 12. So for me, I noticed it. Everyone else probably would say, oh, she's gained weight or she has a beer belly. But I definitely started noticing. Around week 13, I started getting headaches almost every day. But what can you do? With all the hormones and your blood volume increasing, that's bound to happen. So I guess you trade the nausea for the headaches. I don't know. But then in week 13, I also started wearing maternity clothes. So on, let's see, 13, 14, week 15 is when I had an ultrasound and another ultrasound. This was my third one. Yep. Because of the bleeding and everything. So by 13 weeks, I had already had 3 ultrasounds. This one, they finally said, you're having a boy. The last time I had an ultrasound was 2 weeks before that, and they told me they thought it was a boy, but it was still really early to tell, and that they didn't want to tell me with any certainty, because that was only at 13 weeks. So at 15 weeks, they said for sure they thought it was a boy. You're still kind of afraid when, the baby is so small at that point that, I don't know, I didn't believe it yet, even though I had the gender prediction test and 2 different ultrasound technicians tell me it was a boy. I thought for sure I was having a girl, so it was, I didn't really buy any boy things yet. Let's see, week 18, I felt the first kicks, so that was exciting. I actually went to Florida with my grandparents, and on the plane, the baby was kicked like crazy. And it's funny because I had just started feeling him move, and then all of a sudden, he either likes planes or he hates them, I don't know, but he went crazy when the plane took off and when the plane landed. So that was kind of interesting. Let's see, week 22 is when I first started feeling Braxton Hicks contractions. And also that week, my husband felt the baby kick for the very first time. Like putting his hand on my belly, he could feel the baby kick. We also did a couple 3D ultrasounds. That's when I felt a lot better about knowing he was a boy. We had one at 15 weeks. 15 weeks, and then at 30 weeks we had another one. But when I saw the baby in 3D and you could definitely tell that there was the penis, then I was like, yep, it's a boy. So that made me believe it, because you can actually see it. Week 25, I actually went into preterm labor. I went into the hospital because I wasn't feeling the baby move like I should have been feeling him move, not like he had been. And of course, as soon as I got there, baby started moving all over the place. So I don't know. But when I was there, they said, you're having contractions. And I knew I was having contractions, but I didn't really think anything of it because they weren't painful. And they weren't real frequent either. But they said they were too frequent for only being 25 weeks. So they monitored me. They finally just said, I think you have irritable uterus, which just means that I'm prone to having contractions. Thank goodness they're not painful. But, you know, I've had them a lot. So at that point, you know, they had me follow up with the doctors more often. So they had me follow up a couple days later, and they did a FFN test, fibronectin test, or some fibronectin test. And that was negative. And what that test does is it tells you, if it's positive, that means you may or may not deliver in the next 14 days. If it's negative, that's almost 100% chance you're not going to deliver in the next 14 days. So a negative result is good news, and a positive result doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just, it's not as reassuring as the negative, which is, you know, a lot better of a prediction of not having the baby. So in week 26, I had my glucose tolerance test, and since I have a paralyzed stomach, I couldn't drink the glucola that they have. I can't put that much fluid into my stomach that quickly. So there's another test they can do. I don't know if there's anyone who has this problem with being able to drink a lot of fluid at once. You can eat jelly beans, Brock's jelly beans, 18 of them. So you eat 18 jelly beans. It has the same amount of sugar, you know, or glucose as the glucola. So you eat your 18 jelly beans. An hour later, they draw your blood. So that's what I did. That worked out fine. Came back negative. So that was good. Alright, we'll stop this one and then do the